grade. Welcome back. Yes, I have moved, but I'm still in the art room. All right, you guys, so today is week 2 of our Laurel Burch cat project that we are working on. Let's have a look at the cat in a bit more detail and our learning targets. Guys, quickly find from last week, and hopefully you have it nearby, your pencil outline that you did of your cat last week. Hopefully you put it in your art portfolio. Okay, so today you will be needing that. You will be needing, if you have it, a Sharpie. Or if you don't have a Sharpie, just get a black marker or any kind of black pen would be good. But if you have a Sharpie, that's going to work best today. And then you're going to need some markers. Okay. And this is new. Water with some kind of a paintbrush if you have it. Now, if you don't have a paintbrush, you might have like a watercolor set. Those normally come with paintbrushes in them, so you could use that. If you don't have a paintbrush, don't worry about it. I'm going to show you a painting technique that you can use with markers. But if you don't have markers, or if you don't have the paintbrush, don't worry about it. Just color it with crayons or whatever you have. It's not a big deal. Okay, but today we are going to be adding color to our work. All right. Okay, so get those things ready, and I will put them up here so you guys can see again what you need to go and get. And I'll give you a little bit of time to go and get it. So you need your cat picture, Sharpie if you have it, markers if you have them, water, and a paintbrush. So go ahead and get those things. You might want to pause the video here for a second and go and get them. Okay. All right, everyone, let's have a look at my finished one. Right here, this is my finished one, all done and ready. And you can see how I used my black Sharpie to do the outline of not only the cat, but also the outline of all of the patterns on my cat. Okay, so we're going to be doing that today. I'm going to show you this technique that I use to color, which actually uses marker and water, so you can do if you want to. Our learning targets. I can talk about Laurel Burch. I can use repetition and line to create movement. And I can use a variety of painting techniques, tempera, watercolor. Okay, now we're going to talk about this later on today. First of all, let's talk about Laurel Burch. Hopefully you guys remember her from last week. Really amazing woman. Let's come out of here and let's find the PowerPoint on Laurel Burch, and we'll have a quick look at that before we start. And guys, if there's noise, it's because they are doing some work outside my classroom window. So if you hear noises, I'm sorry. Nothing I can do about that right now. Okay, let's see. Where is it? There it is. Okay, guys. So here she is, Laurel Burch. And you guys remember she was born in California in 1945. A very determined and positive person. Remember, guys, she had that bone deficiency, which made her have those really fragile bones, and they would break often. She actually ended up in a wheelchair when she was older because even walking would break her legs. She was in pain a lot of the time, but she didn't focus on that. She focused on making these beautiful, bright, colorful cat pictures because she wanted to make other people happy, which I think is really, really amazing. See her scarf she's wearing? All of her cats are right there on her scarf as well. She became super famous, and she had all different kinds of stuff made with her cats on it, from clothing and scarves to like mugs, throws, blankets, tons of different stuff with her cats on it. Look at all these patterns. That's what I'm talking about. Nice, big, bold patterns. And these are so colorful. I mean, they're like rainbow cats. She's used like every color she has on them. And that's what we're going to try and do today. We're going to make them really colorful. Now, we know this one, she just used different blues. But they're all different, right? Again, look at all these bright colors. Typically, bright colors make people happy, right? And that's why she chose them. She passed away when she was 61 in 2007. I like this one because it looks like little twin cats. All right. The only thing different is their tails, I think. All right, guys. Okay, so you got your cats, you got a Sharpie or a black pen. Okay, I want you guys to follow along with me. We are going to trace the outline of our Laurel Burch cats everywhere, including the patterns, okay? All right, guys. So I'm using a Sharpie. Use whatever you have. And you are going to go ahead and trace every single line you drew. This might take a minute. Don't rush. Even the patterns you're going to trace. Now, the reason why I'm using a Sharpie today is because later on we're going to be putting water on this piece of paper. And as you know, Sharpie is not going to move. Sharpie is permanent ink. So when I put the water on the Sharpie line, it won't budge, which is what I want. Now, if you're using a different kind of marker and you put the water on, it might blur a little, it might move a little, but that might actually look really cool. While I'm up here on the cat's eyes, I'm actually going to color in the pupils black. Feel free to do the same thing or don't. Your choice. So everybody right now should be tracing with whatever black you have. Whoops, wasn't very careful. I'm doing mine at kind of a weird upside down angle, so it's a little tricky. Now, if you feel like you have a bunch of pencil marks showing, which I have a few, like right here. If you have pencil marks showing and they bother you, feel free to erase them. They don't bother me, so I'm going to just leave them for the moment and not worry about it. If you haven't finished, maybe you want to pause the video here, because I'm going to continue on to the color and you might not be done. And if you need a little bit extra time, that's fine. So pause if you need to finish, and I'm going to continue on. All right, so now is where we need the water and the markers and the paintbrush. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to, this is a technique that you could use, and if you don't have these things, you can use anything else. You could just use a watercolor set if you have one. You could use crayons. You could use anything. You don't have to use this technique if you don't have these things. Okay, so let me show you my example again. You see how many colors I used? Really, really bright and colorful. I'm going to show you how I did this with all of these colors. Okay, it's quite an easy technique, and this is how you do it. So you draw a nice thick line around something, and then all you do is get a little bit of water. You don't need to go too crazy. And if you add the water on there, it kind of bleeds onto the paper, see? And now it has made his little heart orange. And I'm actually going to quickly get some scrap paper to put underneath, because it might get wet. So just make sure, guys, if you have water, you're doing this somewhere where it might leak through and it might get wet. So you might want to put some extra paper underneath like I'm doing. All right, guys, let me show you again. I'll do a bigger bit. So you pick a piece, make a nice wide line. I like to actually hold this, instead of holding it like this, I hold it sideways so I can get this thick point. And then I just draw next to a black line somewhere. It doesn't matter where. It's next to a black line somewhere. Okay, so I just kind of do the outside edges. And then I'm going to go back with my water, not too much. And if I go over my orange, it should bleed. I'm not talking about blood, you guys. But that's what it's called when it blends like that. This water can spread that orange around. You don't even need too much water. See how it bleeds out like that? It makes this beautiful, soft, gentle orange color. So that's the technique that we're going to use for our cats. I think it looks really beautiful, and it works with all different colors. So you can go ahead now and take your colors and try this technique if you want to. If you don't want to, or you can't because you don't have a brush, you don't have these things, that's okay. Don't worry about it. You can just use your crayons or something else to color. Now remember, guys, you don't need too much water. I think I just used way too much right there. You might want to have a paper towel or something handy in case you need to wipe your brush off, because maybe your brush gets too wet. So I'm going to do a little bit more. And you can really put your color wherever you want, but you do need to put it next to a black line. Now you see why the black lines are so important and why Sharpie is preferred, because the Sharpie's not bleeding, right? So you're just going to keep going like this, basically, until you have done your whole cat. And you can do as much of it as you like. The only thing I do not want you to do today is I do not want you to do the background. Okay, we are going to work on the background next week. So please don't do the background today. Save that for next week. Okay? All right, you guys, I am going to shut this down. and finish this myself. And I'm going to give you guys some time to finish yours. Okay? Think about Laurel Burch. Think about all of her bright, bright colors that she uses. Okay? Really, really bright and colorful. And you can make your cat the same way. Remember, guys, don't do anything in the background. That is going to be next week's lesson. Okay? When you are done, put it somewhere to dry and then keep it safe, because next week we're going to be adding all of these things in the background to your cat. All right? Okay, guys, I hope you have an awesome time doing that. It's tons of fun to do that technique if that's what you're choosing to do. So today we've been talking some more about Laurel Burch, right? We've been using line and repetition in our cats. And today we're using a different painting technique, right? Maybe a new one that you haven't used before. And if you're not painting, it's fine. Just use your markers, regular markers, or just use crayons. Just use whatever you have at home. But remember, do not paint the background, okay? All right, guys, when it's done, put it somewhere safe. Keep it for next week, and I will see you then, okay? All right, guys, bye, 4th grade.